adopted a resolution recently calling for a peaceful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine and for support for the efforts of the Secretary General of the United Nations. My response is that even though there was a unanimous adoption of this resolution, everybody voted for it, my response is to share with you my view that the Western world does not want a peaceful resolution to the conflict in Ukraine. If there is a peaceful resolution at this time, the West will say that Russia has achieved most of the objectives for which Russia made the military intervention. Ukraine is no longer in a position to pose any military threat to Russia. Number two, there's no possibility that Ukraine can ever join NATO. And as a consequence, Russia has already achieved significant success in respect of their objectives. But one of the most important objectives for which Russia intervened was to protect the Russian-speaking people who were living in Donbass, on the border with Russia, and on the south, facing I think it's called the Sea of Azov. Ever since the color revolution, I think it costed the West about $6 billion to overthrow the government of Ukraine. And then they're the same people who are so fussy. They said, no, Russia was intervening in the American elections with some emails and so on. This is amazing. And you spent about $6 billion to overthrow the Ukrainian government, which had a positive relationship with Russia, and replace it now with a government which hates Russia and despises Russia and wants to threaten Russia. The people of Donbass, who are Russian speakers, were not prepared to accept this regime change. They resisted it. And as a consequence, the new Ukrainian government then started a war against them. And these people have been fighting for 7 years to resist that oppression from the Ukrainian government. And when Russia realized that Ukraine was now moving in for a massive attack, it was then that Russia intervened militarily to save her people. And that objective has already been largely achieved. The entire territory of Donbass, however, has not as yet been completely liberated. That's what remains, because there's substantial Ukrainian military presence in Donbass. But if there is a peaceful resolution now, I think Russia is willing for that peaceful resolution. It would indicate that Russia would have succeeded in most of her major objectives in the war. And that is not acceptable to the West. But the West now is obliged publicly to seek a peaceful resolution because of that resolution. But then, how can the West prevent a peaceful resolution and prevent Russia from being successful in the efforts that Russia wanted to make, the objectives that Russia wanted to achieve in the military intervention? Answer: there's only one way to prevent a peaceful resolution, and that is to get the war to expand. Get other countries to now join in the war. And my fear, and I'm making this video today in Bristol to share with you my fear. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm saying I'm afraid that this is what is going to happen. That sometime in the near future, another country will intervene in the war, most likely Poland. And of course, there will be the spinning of a story to justify intervention. That if Russia could take back her territory in Crimea, so can Poland take back her territory in Ukraine. What will be the implication of a Polish intervention in the war in Ukraine? That is the question. And Russia has already given the reply. Russia has said, it has committed itself, we will respond immediately and massively. That is what Russia has said. So if within the next 1 month or so, there is a Polish intervention in the war in Ukraine, and Russia then responds as Russia has threatened to respond, the implication is that we will now be on the doorstep of the Great War. I want to share with you again what I suspect. I hope I'm wrong. While the Azerbaijani people are very nice people, wherever I've met them, the government of Azerbaijan today is an Israeli satellite. And so it is possible that an Azerbaijani attack on Armenia, massive attack, would be launched in order to create a diversion. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm going to Armenia now. If that attack on Armenia takes place and fighting starts, then the world's attention will be diverted there. And that will help to cover a Polish attack intervening in the war in Ukraine. How should we respond? Number one, as soon as the West is of the view that the moment has come for the Great War. Of course, they will decide. The Great War, they will decide. I don't see Russia deciding at this time, because Russia has now committed itself to peace with Ukraine. So my previous view was that Russia would decide, but now I say no. The West will decide when the Great War will take place. What will they do if they take such a decision? Put on your thinking caps. I think the first thing they'll do is to shut down the internet all over the world. If that happens, I don't have any means anymore to reach you. My voice will be lost. So while still there is time and I can speak and I can reach you, I'm making these videos to advise you. When the war does start, and there is no internet, there's no means for you to know what's happening, then the first targets of the war would be military bases. In the Western world, military bases in Germany, so goodbye Germany. Military bases in Turkey, NATO, so goodbye Turkey. This is not any evil thing I'm saying, I'm just telling you factual. So you prepare for it, you won't be surprised. Military base in Qatar, so goodbye Qatar. And a big military base in Kosovo, so goodbye.
What would you say?
Huh?
Is there any military base on Saudi Arabia?
Is there a military base in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, military bases in Saudi Arabia as well, yeah. Many will die within a short time of the commencement of nuclear war. But not all. Our eschatology tells us that mankind will not perish. Why? Because within 7 years, although one other hadith says 7 months, of the Great War, a Muslim army will conquer Constantinople. So it means that mankind will not perish. Some will die and some will survive. I hope I'm one of the lucky ones who will die. Oh yes. Because those who survive, they are the ones who are going to live in a world which will be terrible, terrible. So let me say one more time, as I've said so many times in the past, stock up on food. Non-perishable food. Canned food. Dates as such, they have so much nutrition in them that you can survive for the whole day with just 3 dates. So stock up on non-perishable foods. Stock up on water. You can't live without water. And don't keep your water in glass containers. Don't keep your water in plastic containers. Keep your water in containers which are not so perishable. And finally, you have to cook. Allah created human beings to cook. And in Surah Yasin, He tells us, I gave you the wood of the trees to cook. So you need to be able to cook. There'll be no electricity. Your gas will run out. So how will you cook? Answer, you have to be in a place where wood is available. If you remain in the city, there'll be no food and there won't no water. So there'll be anarchy in the cities, and people will kill each other for food and for water. They'll break down your doors because they're dying for food and water. If you choose to remain in the city, don't turn to me and ask me what to do. I have asked you for so long, so many times, make a backup arrangement in the remote countryside. Keep enough petrol in your car that you can reach the remote countryside. Because there's safety in the countryside. How do you protect yourself in that world after the great war? Remember what Allah said in Surah Al-Isra. You remember? وَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ, and when you recite the Quran, جَعَلْنَا بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ حِجَابًا مَسْتُورًا. Allah will place a covering over you to protect you. So one of the major protections in the post-nuclear world is to be reciting the Quran. I recite the whole Quran from cover to cover every lunar month. I've been doing it for several years now, and also my students are doing it, alhamdulillah. The best time to recite the Quran is in the mornings. In the Quran, al-Fajr kana mashhuda. Either before Salatul Fajr or after Salatul Fajr. I recited my juz, Minya Portion, this morning. For me, it is the 7th day of Shawwal. For you, maybe it's the 6th. So my juz for today was Suratul Anfal and Suratul Tawbah. Have you read the Quran on the moon? Please read that book. We sold out all the copies in London, so we don't have any copies now. But if this audience want to get the book, just put your name and your number. And we'll send you the books from Birmingham, inshallah, and read that book. It'll tell you how to recite the Quran, what is the juz. And if you recite the whole Quran, and you complete the whole Quran, the recitation every month, Allah will protect you. The Quran will protect you. And finally, one last thing. If war is around the corner, a Muslim must never have in his heart the fear of death. Banish the fear of death from your heart. I've left my home in Trinidad. I'm traveling. Even if the Great War is tomorrow, I continue my work. I'll continue my work, inshallah. If I have to die, I accept it. Allah is the one in whose hands is life and death. So banish the fear of death from your hearts. That is only possible if you have faith in your hearts. If you do not have faith in your heart, you can't get it in a supermarket. You'll be terrified. You'll be scared. Where can I go and hide? Where can I be safe? But if you have faith in your heart, then you can banish the fear of death from your hearts. And I pray and I bless that Allah might take this small video and reach it out to thousands and thousands, inshallah, around the world. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you want any books, you can come and I'll autograph them for you, inshallah.